What is up, everyone? This right here is my full non-spoiler review of The Boogeyman. Of course, the movie is based on the Stephen King short story of the same name, which I highly recommend reading if you have not checked it out yet. This movie focuses on Sophie Thatcher and Vivien Lyra Blair's characters. They play sisters who recently lost their mother. They're having a tough time coping with that loss, and so is their father, a therapist played by Chris Messina. When he agrees to see a new patient, he doesn't know that that individual he just welcomed into their house is carrying this darkness with him, and that darkness winds up latching onto his own family. I'll kick off this analysis with the adaptation of it all, because as many of you out there know, I am a very big Stephen King fan. I have read a significant amount of his work, The Boogeyman included. And I know the pressure is always especially high to do source material justice in a film adaptation, but I do feel like King novels wind up being especially big challenges because many are so widely beloved and also because they are highly detailed pieces and it can be difficult to cover all that detail in a single feature film. But that is where the great opportunity in adapting a short story comes in, and I found that Rob Savage and his team really made the most of that opportunity here. Not only do they very much do that short story justice and thoroughly honor it in this film, but they also expand on it in a highly effective way, one that puts character before scares, and by doing that, I think they wind up enhancing their scares. First and foremost, The Boogeyman is a story about a family struggling with loss, each in their own way, and each needing to figure out how to power through it themselves, while also needing to figure out how best to support one another as they do it. So that right there is a rock-solid foundation for this movie and also for its scare scenes. But then on top of that, those scare scenes, all on their own, are extremely well-crafted pieces. First with those, I want to touch on jump scares, because I know they have a bit of a bad reputation, and I do get it. There are so many examples out there of jump scares that are not earned, but rather being used as, tricks to spark a quick jolt in a viewer. Here, however, they are justified, creatively crafted, and often wind up enhancing the story as well. So we've got good jump scares, but then on top of that, The Boogeyman is also packed to the brim with scare scenes that heavily benefit from carefully timed builds and stunning visuals, many of which feature wildly creative lighting techniques, both in terms of general ambiance lighting, but then also in-world lighting. Just wait until you see this moonball light. I have a feeling it's going to be a fan favorite, an iconic element that is now always tied to this Boogeyman film. But even beyond that, there are so many other examples of very creatively used in-world lights in this movie that I just could not get enough of. So overall, these are some very, very well done scare scenes across the board. But I do want to issue one warning with them just because I have had a few people mention this to me. I want to point out that The Boogeyman isn't the scariest movie of all time that'll have you running out of the theater in fear. I've just heard a few examples of expectations being set so sky high in that respect that the movie just can't meet them. But even with me being reasonable about it, the movie is pretty scary. A lot of you know I very much enjoy great scares in horror movies, but it takes a lot for me to take a movie home with me. And I can't say I lost sleep over this Boogeyman movie, but I do think really smart lighting, framing, and camera moves have contributed so significantly to the overall effectiveness of the film that after I left the theater, went home and maybe looked in a dark corner or had a closet door open, I might have done a double take just because of thinking what could be lurking back there, and I love that feeling. Jumping into the performances here now, they are excellent across the board. The family dynamic between Thatcher, Blair, and Messina really could not have been better. The love between them is palpable, but so is the friction. In particular, I found the distance between Thatcher's character, Sadie, and Messina's character, Will, to be one of the standout elements of the whole story, and it's actually the driving force behind one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie. It's a dialogue-heavy moment that reflects the fact that both characters are struggling with their grief, and while Sadie wants to talk to her dad about it, he's closed off and not ready. And not only does that dynamic work really well with, I guess, the more grounded material in the film with them dealing with their loss, but it's also how it comes into play with how they deal with the existence of the boogeyman. And I just love that those parallels existed here. This is probably also a really good point in the review for me to say Chris Messina is a standout, I think, in everything he's in and needs more credit for it. And now that includes the boogeyman as well. And a lot of you know how obsessed I am with Yellow Jackets. So I did go into the boogeyman with sky-high hopes for Sophie Thatcher, knowing she is a damn good actor. But she really blew me away with her ability to do it all in The Boogeyman, and her ability to do it all is vital to the movie being able to do it all, function as a successful family drama, but also a really scary horror movie. We're only with this family for a short period of time, but she excels in making sure that you feel the weight of their family history and what her mother meant to her, and the same winds up being true of the sister connection in the film as well. And I was just loving the chemistry between Thatcher and Vivien, Lyra, Blair, and really everything Blair was doing with this role for that matter. There are so many lines in this movie where her tone and delivery could not have been better. I don't want to spoil anything for you here, but I guess I'll highlight two things vaguely. A reaction shot of her after a door slams closed, and then also a particular line she delivers while hiding under the covers. Just pitch perfect stuff. I know a lot of you out there know her for playing Leia in the Obi-Wan series, but now Boogeyman just further proves that she is a true natural at this craft, and I am fully convinced that the possibilities are really endless for her. Such a pro. I also want to give a very big shout out to David Dastmalchian for his performance in this movie as Lester Billings. He's the character that is focused on in the short story. So not only is he tasked with doing that short story justice through his performance, but he also has to make sure his big scene is something that kind of sets the tone for the entire film and also reverberates throughout it. And he does. This to me is just the perfect example of someone making the absolute most out of a limited amount of screen time and it having an effect on the entire film. And I guess I would say the same is true of Marin Ireland's work here as Lester's wife, Rita. That is a role that, to me, seems like material that might not have worked in less capable hands, but she's one of the best out there. Someone who I think always deserves more credit and praise for the work she delivers in all of her films and shows. One last character I do have to touch on here. It's the Boogeyman, of course. I thought they nailed it in every single respect. I love how they play up the mystery of what could be lurking in the shadows earlier on in the film via really smart cinematography. And then I also think they found great success showing more and more of their monster with, again, smart photography, lighting, storytelling, really everything. The work from D.P. Eli Bourne suggests that he and Rob Savage just really knew how to best support the Boogeyman design that they were working with, and just knowing how much to conceal, but also knowing precisely when and how to show the audience more. And the same praise should be sent the VFX team's way as well, just them knowing exactly how to work with the sets, the lighting, the story as well. There are elements of their Boogeyman design that don't necessarily demand more exposition be added to the film, but they do still speak to a larger history and also offer additional depth in terms of what this Boogeyman is capable of and also what it's after. And I love details like that. And finally, I have to sing director Rob Savage's praises a bit here. He has directed films with a more traditional style before, but because I know many out there know him quite well for his screen life type movies like Host, I do need to emphasize that he is a good filmmaker, period. The Boogeyman feels like a film where the person at the helm just knew exactly how to best support each department and how to bring all of that stellar work together. It's a hard thing to put into words and explain, but There's a confidence I feel from behind the lens while watching The Boogeyman. It's something that suggests to me that there's a certain clarity in his goals and overall vision, which I have to imagine is a big reason why the film plays this well for me. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and give The Boogeyman 4.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. I love how it does the short story justice. I love the classic feel of this film, but how it also has its own unique creative touches and flares. I also adore the fact that the filmmakers put such a heavy emphasis on delivering well-developed characters before throwing them into their very well-crafted, executed, and very effective scare scenes. This is just a well-made movie on every single level, and it will likely be a major contender for my top 10 of 2023. That is where I'm leaving you on Boogeyman. Clearly, I want you to see it, so I will say, when you see the movie in theaters, tell me about it. Come back to this video, drop your own thoughts in the comments below. I would love to know what you think. I will say a big thank you to everybody out there for watching this review. Please like it and share it before you leave, and stay tuned. More on the way very soon.